Your Daily Dose. My name is Robert. I'm here with my pal Brad. Brad is a person with Parkinson's who has been kind enough to join the Shawshank Hero's Journey, the latest term of it. And Brad, I would love to hear your experience as we tell people about this. What has it been like? What did you feel like when you started? And then maybe where you've come to be in this class?
Well, I found it very rewarding, and I found it challenging, and I turned out to have to bring out my inner writing skills.
Now, so a lot of people get scared by writing. So talk to me about your experience with ChatGPT and what that did to maybe, lessen some of the burden.
I found ChatGPT to be a wonderful writing tool and aid. It took me a while to figure it out, but once I figured it out, it increased my productivity 10x.
Yeah.
'Cause it really reduced my workload and is a wonderful asset and tool, and I'd strongly encourage anyone to use that.
How about the transition from telling a very purely Brad story into a Spencer story? This character that, it took time to get you to really, lean into the aesthetic distance as we talk about it and the value of that from a standpoint. Can you talk to me about the journey of letting go of literally your life and letting it be maybe background to the story you're putting forward?
Yes, that's exactly what happens. In the beginning, I was very tightly linked to my character. And then over time and through practice, you get that aesthetic distance, which is invaluable in terms of telling your story from a variety of different angles and lenses. So I found that very rewarding as the writing went along to get a greater distance between myself and my characters, and more insightful and more reflective.
Well, that's what I was going to get to. So, people say, okay, great. Maybe it helps you tell a better story, but what does it do for you in terms of when you can look at Spencer as a separate character and he's not you and watch what he does? What do you learn, or what maybe health or emotional benefit do you get from seeing this character that's not you go through things that you can relate to?
Well, I think for me, it allows me to experiment with my character and explore different situations that would not be normal for me or more unusual. And that was a learning curve all in itself and very valuable and insightful.
Yeah. And Parkinson's itself, to me, success with living with it well is so much about the outreach side. The community that you have bonded with in our class, the four other students plus Karen, who comes along and mentors. Can you talk about the relationships you've built between your community members in the class?
It was tremendous and it was very rewarding. I found that as we went along this journey together, um, it was just it surprised me that how in depth and how supportive and how loving the relationships were with my fellow classmates, and how what a great safe space it was. And it was just it felt wonderful. It felt like a little community on this journey together.
You seem to enjoy, and you left great notes for us as part of the class, other people's writing. What was the value for you in reading other people's stories?
I I I got a real kick out of it, more than I thought I would. And I kind of grew into that role, but it was fun. It was great to see examples of people doing things better than I was doing it by a long shot, and then stealing some of their ideas and techniques. So that was fantastic alone. And then it was just very uplifting to provide positive feedback to fellow classmates that felt like a little miniature gift from me to them, and more importantly, from them to me. And that exchange was just very rewarding and very helpful.
And we had a student in the class, my aunt, who of course is not a person with Parkinson's. What, people might be surprised, go, wait a minute, there's people who don't have Parkinson's in the class. What was that like? Because she wasn't writing about Parkinson's, and did it affect the mood, or how did that, what was that like?
It was totally transparent and neutral. I didn't find that it had any effect whatsoever. It surprised me to some degree, but I didn't. It was indistinguishable to me whether Linda had Parkinson's or not, or whether she had a spouse or brother who had Parkinson's. It was indistinguishable, and it didn't make any difference whatsoever to her participation or her value to the class.
I'm glad you saw that because my hope is, as the instructor, is that we all see the humanity of each other. Parkinson's brings many of us together in some fashion. However, none of us are Parkinson's. And to me, that's my hope is at the end of the day, at the end of the class, that we see our stories free us from the literal Parkinson's prison that we were exploring in the Shawshank Redemption.
Mhm. Yeah, it was fantastic. I highly enjoyed the journey, and I recommend it to others.
Wonderful. Thanks for your time, Brad. I'll see you soon.
You're welcome.